Bitcoin Core dominates the network. It's the default, the standard implementation. If you're running a Bitcoin node, there's a greater than 96% chance you're running Bitcoin Core. But behind Core are real people making real decisions about what Bitcoin should be. So what if you disagree? What if you want more say in how your node behaves, more control, more configurability? That's where Bitcoin Knots comes in. Knots is a powerful alternative to Core that gives you the same rock-solid base with added features, different defaults, and the freedom to tweak things your way. It's about choice, it's about sovereignty, and it's easier to run than you might think. Today, I'll show you exactly how to get Knots running on desktop, Umbrel, or Start9, and how to connect it with external wallets like Sparrow so you're fully in control from top to bottom. Because running Bitcoin isn't just about verifying, it's about choosing how you verify. Stay tuned. I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session. Right now, there's a growing schism in the Bitcoin community, specifically around how nodes should handle non-monetary data. That debate is what sparked this video. Now, I'm not here to tell you which side you should take. What I am here to say is you owe it to yourself to listen to the arguments, understand the incentives at play, and decide what you want to run. Because in Bitcoin, running a node isn't about shouting into the void. It's about aligning your software with your values and your wallet. Your node only matters, though, if it's connected to your transactions. If you're not pointing your wallet to your node, it's not an economic actor. It's just a silent observer. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to run Bitcoin Knots on 3 different setups: desktop, Umbrel, and Start9. And then I'll show you how to link your external wallet using Sparrow Wallet as our example so that your node actually enforces the rules you agree with and that aligns with your transactions. And if you stick around to the end, I'll share additional resources and tools that'll help you dive even deeper and get the most out of your setup. Let's get into it. So we're going to start today by downloading Bitcoin Knots onto your desktop computer. And in this example, I'm actually migrating from having Bitcoin Core previously installed and replacing it with Bitcoin Knots. Now, you don't have to be coming from Bitcoin Core in order to do this. You can do this from scratch with Bitcoin Knots. There'll be a couple little differences that I'll note as we go through the process, but this is for somebody that does not have a Start9 or an Umbrel, one of those plug-and-play node devices. You can still run Bitcoin Knots on your computer and link your wallets to it. So let's get started. I'm here at bitcoinknots.org. I'll link that in the show notes. But up top, I'm going to go to download, or on this main screen, you can also see it knows what type of computer I'm using. It says I can download Knots for Mac OS, which I'm on. So I'm going to hit download there. It's going to download a file for me. Now, I can also download digital fingerprints and signatures. I'm going to do that right now. And what this allows us to do is verify the software, which is a little bonus thing that is good practice to do. So I'm just going to hit download for both of those things there. Okay, great. So we've downloaded those files. I'm going to jump over to my other desktop here, and I'm just going to open up my downloads folder so we can see those files that we downloaded. There's the actual Bitcoin Knots software, and there's the other files that we've downloaded. And to verify the software, I'm going to be using Sparrow Wallet, which we'll use as our main Bitcoin wallet in a moment here. But Sparrow Wallet has a built-in verifying tool for our downloads. So all I'm going to do, and by the way, I do have a full video on Sparrow Wallet. It's in the show notes down below if you want to learn more about it. Again, I've got my downloads folder open here. I've got the zip download file. I've got this ASC file, which is the signatures, and then we've got this manifest file. And so all I need to do to verify the download is have Sparrow open, go to Tools, and Verify Download. And again, you can manually put in each one of these files just by browsing and selecting them. All that's important is they're in the same folder. Okay. But I found that if you get the manifest and you grab that first, it'll automatically grab the release file, and then the signature I can grab. It's the ASC file. Looks like this, and I'll hit open. And then I have a whole bunch of green check marks. So that means everything seems to be all good. And I can go ahead and install knots now. So I'm going to hit close. I can just minimize Sparrow for right now. And what we're going to do is this zip file is actually Bitcoin knots. I'm going to double click it, and it's going to unzip that file. And it looks like this. Now, this is where things are going to differ a little bit from person to person. So in my applications folder, you can see that I currently have Bitcoin Core. Now, Bitcoin Core itself is actually up to date and synced, and I've downloaded the entire Bitcoin blockchain. So you're probably thinking, if you're in that position, oh God, am I going to have to wait another day or a couple days to download and synchronize everything? And the answer is actually no. When you drag Bitcoin knots into your applications folder, it actually takes the place of Bitcoin Core, and it uses your existing copy of the Bitcoin blockchain as its own. So you don't have to re-download anything. So all I'm going to do, my downloads folder, again, I double clicked the zip file and I have the application here. I'm going to drag it into my applications folder. And it says an older item named Bitcoin Core already exists in this location. Do you want to replace it with the newer one you're moving? And I'm going to say replace. Okay, so it's now replaced. It's now in my applications. So I can just go ahead and I can open up Bitcoin knots by double clicking it. It says, do you want to open this? I'm going to say yes, open. Okay, and I can close my applications folder. Now, this is where things are going to differ for some people. If you previously had Bitcoin Core, you've already kind of set it up, and you'll see something like this. It's just going to update to, it's going to download the latest blocks, and you're off to the races. However, if this is your first time opening up Bitcoin knots or Core, it's going to ask you a couple quick things. One of them has to do with pruning. Pruning means that your node will download the entire history of Bitcoin, all the previous transactions, and verify them, but it will only keep the most recent transactions so you don't fill your entire hard drive. I think this is a pretty good idea, especially if you have limited space on your laptop. So just go with the recommended pruning amount, or you can shrink it a little bit, and then you're off to the races. So it will still go and download and verify everything, but it won't take up your entire hard drive. So we're just going to wait for this to catch up and download the remaining blocks, and we'll be back and we'll take a look at Bitcoin knots and how to connect it to our wallets as well. Okay, now we have fully synced here. Now you'll notice here on Bitcoin knots, there's some transaction history, and that's because I've used the Bitcoin Core instance that preceded it for some demos and stuff like that. But if you're starting from scratch, you will not see any recent transactions listed here. Now, this by itself can be used as a Bitcoin wallet, but I prefer to link external sources just to it as a copy of the Bitcoin blockchain. Before we go and do that, though, let's take a look at some of the settings that you can do in regards to features relating to data. Okay, so we're going to go up to Bitcoin knots and we're going to choose preferences. If you're on something that's not a Mac, then it may be under File and then Preferences. So either way, it brings up this options menu for me. And one of the things that differs here is there's a tab that says Spam Filtering. And so this is where there's going to be some differences with Bitcoin Core in that this doesn't really exist in Bitcoin Core, but this is, again, some of the reasoning for people that may want to run knots. But But there's a lot of different settings here. Ignore unrecognized receiver scripts, reject parasite transactions. All of these different things, if you hover over them, it gives you a bit of a deeper explanation. So if I hover over the parasite transactions, with this option enabled, transactions related to parasitic overlay protocols will be ignored. Parasites are transactions using Bitcoin as a technical infrastructure to animate other protocols unrelated to ordinary money transfers. So there's a whole bunch of different settings here. Again, in and around, okay, if something has a long history of ancestral transactions that are not yet confirmed, things around the size of transactions, how many bytes they take up, all of these different things, ignore embedded non-standard formats, a whole bunch of different settings. And I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but I want you to just know that the functionality for very, very granular settings are here. It also allows you to ignore transactions that would cost more to spend at a fee rate of, and so on and so forth, aka dust transactions. There's a lot of different settings here that you can tweak. Now, all of this stuff, it relates to, are you relaying transactions that are monetary in nature, or are you packing in a bunch of external data that could be related to tokens and ruins and inscriptions and, basically JPEGs on Bitcoin, everything like that. And I want to be clear in and around what this does in practice. This has to do with the mempool. The mempool is the pool of transactions that you store in waiting that are potentially going to be confirmed in a Bitcoin block and added to the Bitcoin blockchain. If transactions that involve data are mined and indeed added to the Bitcoin blockchain, knots will still have that on the copy of the Bitcoin blockchain. But this is more of a filtering mechanism in regards to transactions that you host in your mempool on your computer. There's a lot of nuance here. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but all of the settings are here in spam filtering. You can turn them on and off and adjust them as you wish. If you change them, you can hit OK, and it does require a restart of Bitcoin knots to have them enabled. Nonetheless, this is now up and running. So the one other thing we need to do is we need to change one thing in what's known as the config file so that we can easily connect external wallets to Bitcoin knots. So again, I'm going to go into the preferences here, and on the main tab down at the bottom, there's something that says open configuration file. When I hit that, I'm going to hit continue, and it opens up this file. For you, if you've never played with it before, it will be blank. But what you're going to insert there is just this one phrase that says server equals 1 with no spaces. Server in all lowercase, the equal sign, and then the number 1. And then you're going to choose file, and you're going to hit save, and then you're going to close that file. Okay? After you've done that, again, it will require a restart of Bitcoin knots in order to actually take hold. I'm going to hit OK. Since I didn't change anything, actually, it's not telling me I need to restart. Nonetheless, Bitcoin knots is now fully prepared for you to be able to link your wallet to it. So let's take a quick look at that. I'm going to bring up Sparrow Wallet again. Again, I've got a video of this in the description that you can check out to fully benefit from all the tools that Sparrow enables. But for now, we're just going to go in and we're going to choose the node we want to connect to. I'm going to go Sparrow. I'm going to go settings. And then in the pop-up window, I'm going to choose server. At this point, if you've never connected to your own node before, the little toggle switch in the bottom right will be yellow, meaning it's connected to a public server. If you hit edit existing connection, you'll be able to connect to alternatives. If you choose Bitcoin Core, it will have the default option here enabled. And that's actually all you need in order to connect to your Bitcoin Knots instance or Bitcoin Core if you were running that, because it knows the default location of where this information is stored. All you need to do is click on Test Connection, and you need to have Knots open and running for this to function. So we're going to hit Test Connection. Pretty quick, we see a green check mark, and if we close this, we can see the toggle switch in the bottom right turn on. It says connected, and if we hover, it shows information about our node. So what this means is any wallet activity that we now do in Sparrow, if we have a hot wallet, a cold wallet connected to our hardware, a multi-sig wallet, anything, all of it will be referring to our own copy of the Bitcoin blockchain, which is stored on our computer through Bitcoin Knots. And you are basically following that copy of the blockchain and the rules enforced by Bitcoin Knots with your own economic power through your Sparrow wallet and whatever you use for it. The process would be much the same if you were using other instances on your local computer. And that is that. So now you have not only your own copy of Knots, you're able to tinker with the settings, and you've made sure that the config file allows incoming connections, and you've connected your own Bitcoin wallet to it, and you're all in control from top to bottom. Bitcoin Well is the best place to be buying and selling Bitcoin in Canada and the US. And now with Bitcoin Well Infinite, it's also the best place to be making large buys at their OTC desk of over $50,000. Their white glove service gives you fast transactions, no slippage, and the lowest fees. You can scan the QR code on the screen or simply head to bitcoinwell.com/BTC sessions to sign up today. And you can share your own personalized referral link to earn commissions. Securing your Bitcoin doesn't have to be complicated or invasive. With NUNCHUK's HONEYBADGER plan, you get state-of-the-art multi-sig with built-in inheritance planning and no KYC required. NUNCHUK is trusted by users to secure billions of dollars in Bitcoin. The HONEYBADGER plan offers 204 assisted multisig, guiding you step-by-step on mobile or desktop. It works seamlessly with hardware wallets like TapSigner, Coldcard, Jade, and plenty of others, so you're always in control. Plus, with non-KYC inheritance planning, you can ensure your Bitcoin goes to your loved ones. No private info needed. Take control of your Bitcoin today. Click the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen to check out the HONEYBADGER plan. Up next, we are going to show how to run Bitcoin Knots on your own Umbrel. This is a plug-and-play device that is not only a Bitcoin node, but a home server, so you can host data and all kinds of different stuff on it. So this device is currently plugged in on the shelf behind me and plugged into my router, and I'm able to access it remotely from my browser, and this is what it looks like. So if you're currently on Umbrel, you probably already have downloaded a few things and you have some apps, but just lay of the land here. I have some installed apps here, and down below there is a little app store or marketplace where you can look up and find things. And so in order to use this as your Bitcoin node, you're going to need to download Bitcoin Knots onto it. Now, you'll notice if you look back at my main screen, I actually have Bitcoin Core, the Bitcoin node, installed, but I also have Bitcoin Knots. And you can find both of those in the App Store. So it just says Bitcoin node. It lets you know that it's Bitcoin Core. But you can also search, and if you type in Knots, there it is right here. And so you can download and install Knots at any point. If you're just downloading it from scratch, you don't have Bitcoin Core already, all you need to do is download and install Knots. And you're going to want one other program that I have also already downloaded, but I'll show you here. It's called ElectRS, or Electrum Rust Server. You're also going to download and install that. This will depend on your Bitcoin Knots being fully downloaded and synced. You'll be able to see that progress when you open up the Bitcoin Knots software. Now, if you are migrating from Bitcoin Core to Bitcoin Knots, you can do that in a way where you can actually copy the data from your existing Bitcoin Core node over to Bitcoin Knots. If you don't do that, then Bitcoin Knots will fully sync on its own, meaning you're downloading a secondary copy of the Bitcoin blockchain, and it can take a little bit of time. So let's take a look at how to migrate the data from Bitcoin Core to Bitcoin Knots so that you can save yourself some time if you've already done that first step. So the first thing you're going to do is you're actually going to stop both of these services from running. So you can do that by right-clicking and hitting stop on both. Once they are both finished and it says stopped under both of them, you can go down to the bottom and you're going to choose your file explorer. So we're going to navigate over on the left to apps. We're going to double click on Bitcoin. We're going to grab this data folder and we're going to drag it and drop it into the Knots folder. So we're going to go up to apps and hover. Then we're going to hover over Bitcoin Knots. And we're going to drop it here. Now, I get an error here. And the reason for this, I believe, is because this is already fully synced up for me. All of the data in the folder, everything is all exactly the same. There's no difference. And so it's saying, hey, this already exists. It's the same thing. And so I don't need to actually drag that over. If it's not complete, like if you haven't already synced up already, it will say, do you want to replace the data folder? In which case you would indeed select to replace it. It would take a little bit of time and then you'd be good to go. At that point, once this folder has been pasted in, you just hit the X, you're going to right click on Knots and you're going to choose start. And it'll take a second to open up. It'll sync any unsynced blocks. We can go into it here and just take a quick little peek. And it looks like it's pretty much all synced up anyways because it wasn't off for very long. So anyways, Bitcoin Knots is now currently running, no problem, on our Umbrel. Now we are not finished. As I said, we have Bitcoin Knots, and then the way that you can remotely connect to your node here is typically the easiest way, I'd say, through Electrum Rust server. And so this also is installed. But you need to make sure if you have Bitcoin Core still installed that it's pointing towards your correct instance that you want it to. So that is easy to do. You right click on Electrum Rust server, you go to settings, and there's a drop down and you choose Bitcoin Knots. Save the changes, it'll restart Electrum Rust server, and once it's done, you're good to go and we can now connect to our wallet. So to connect our wallet to our node here, what we're going to do, just as before, we're going to go into Sparrow, we're going to hit settings, and we're going to hit server. We're going to edit the existing connection, and this time we're going to choose private Electrum, and we're going to input the correct information. And that information we're going to grab is over here on our Umbrel. We're going to get it from our Electrum Rust server. So we're going to click on that. And you have a couple different options here. You have your umbrel.local. So this is just if you're on your local network. There's an address and there's a port. Those are the two things that you're going to need. However, if you want to be able to access this from your laptop from anywhere, then you're going to be using the Tor connection. So I'm going to go ahead and enable that one right now. I'm going to click on the Tor tab and I'm going to copy the address first, and I can just memorize this 50001. I don't need to copy that. So let's get our wallet open here. Okay, so I've pasted in the correct information just at the top here. So the URL is the address that I copied, and then I've typed in 50001. And that's all I need. I'm going to hit test connection. And there we go. After a little bit of time, I see a green check mark. It says I'm connected. I can hit close, and then I get the toggle switch in the bottom right turning blue and connecting. So once again, as with Knots on our desktop, now this is connected to our Umbrel device, our copy of Bitcoin Knots, and through Electrum Rust server. And this I don't need to just use at home. It could be on the go if my laptop is mobile. I don't need to be on the same network as my Umbrel. And still, all of my wallet activity from within Sparrow will be routed through my own copy of Bitcoin Knots. Now, of course, we're all connected and everything, but what about all of those settings and filters and all that stuff that we saw on our desktop copy? Well, you also have those with Bitcoin Knots here on Umbrel. You can click on it. And once you're into Bitcoin Knots, all you do top right, there's 3 little dots and there's advanced settings. Now, under advanced settings, there's a lot of stuff going on regarding how you can tinker with the node itself, but there are a few things in particular under peer settings. There are a few things here, again, various types of block filters, connections, all that kind of stuff that you can play with. But primarily what you're going to be concerned with is optimization as it pertains to the other stuff we looked at before. And there's a few toggle switches here. Again, the whole reject parasitic transactions that are non-monetary. You can reject token transactions, and that's just a toggle switch. And then there's a whole bunch of further granular things that you can take a peek at, and there's descriptions of all of them as you scroll down. So all of that is here for you to play with. And if you do any changes, you just hit save and restart the Bitcoin node, and that will be enacted for you and thus apply to everything that you do through your Sparrow wallet. And if you ever want to go back, there's a restore default settings there as well. So there you have it. All of the functionality out of your Umbrel node. CoinKite has been in the game for years, creating hands down the best and most secure hardware when it comes to securing your Bitcoin. The Cold Card Q is an absolute powerhouse and my daily driver, and it's ideal for newcomers and advanced users alike. The Tap Signer gives you a low-cost, user-friendly option for those just getting started or for convenience when traveling. You can head to coinkite.com and use code BTC Sessions for discounts, or simply scan the QR code on the screen to get started right away. Looking for a simple and secure way to manage your Bitcoin on mobile? AQUA Wallet has you covered. It's user-friendly and puts you in full control of your Bitcoin with secure self-custody. AQUA also supports Lightning and Liquid Network, making fast, cheap Bitcoin payments and asset transfers easier than ever. Plus, it even supports stablecoins, giving you ultimate flexibility. Built on open source code, AQUA is transparent, trustworthy, and perfect for beginner and pros alike. Ready to upgrade your Bitcoin experience? Click the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen now to download AQUA Wallet today. DEBIFI is the best and easiest way to borrow against your Bitcoin in a non-custodial way. Funds are held in a multi-sig escrow where you hold a key, and the platform allows for excellent hardware like the Cold Card Mark IV and the Q. You have access to flexible conditions, the best rates, and institutional-grade liquidity. If you're looking to make use of your capital, don't sell your Bitcoin, borrow against it. You can head over to debify.com to check them out, or simply scan the QR code on the screen. And finally, I want to show you guys how to do all of this with your Start9. And this is the primary node that I use for all of my Bitcoin infrastructure day to day. And so I'm going to show you the dashboard. Again, this is connected to a device on my shelf behind me that I can access from anywhere. And you can see that I do have Bitcoin Knots turned on and enabled here and running. I didn't want to undo that. I did that in another video before. And I'm actually going to take what I did in that video and I'm going to jump to that right now so that you can see the process I originally went through. The one thing, again, that I'll note that I'm sure I mentioned in this segment is that Start9 just runs one instance of whatever your Bitcoin node reference implementation is. And so if you're running Knots, you're not running core in tandem. You're just running one and then everything integrates together. So let's take a jump to that recording of me installing Knots for the first time in place of Bitcoin Core. Really quick note here before jumping to that video. It is advisable, and Start9 has noted this, that you should stop core before you go and install knots. And so what that would look like, even though I have knots installed right here, I'm going to tap on it and then you would hit the stop button. And once it's fully stopped, then you can proceed with the video we're going to jump to now. So here I am on my Start9 server, and I've got a number of different things installed. But before I was running Bitcoin Core, and I actually want to be running something different in this instance because when you are dealing with something called a Datum gateway, it requires you to be running something called Bitcoin Knots, which is a different program. So we're actually going to go into the marketplace and download Bitcoin Knots as well. And you can see I've already downloaded Bitcoin Datum Gateway rather. So the way that I'm going to go about this is I'm going to go to the marketplace here. And there are different registries. So there's all of the Start9 kind of vetted everything here. But if you go to the community registry and hit connect, then you'll be able to find some other things here as well. If I search knots, I can see right here, Bitcoin Knots installed. Now that is kind of funky. Is it here? Can you see it? You cannot. And so it's important to note that you need to actually take an extra step here. And you can also, by the way, download Datum Gateway as well from the community registry. But let's take a look at knots here. So if I click on this, the interesting part about Start9 is it views Bitcoin Knots and Bitcoin Core as basically the same thing. It's kind of placed in the same spot. And so in order to utilize Bitcoin Knots instead of Bitcoin Core, there's a button here that says downgrade. If you already have Bitcoin Core installed and you've already synced the entire blockchain, then effectively what will happen here is you keep your same copy of the Bitcoin blockchain and it just switches to Bitcoin Knots from here on in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And that shouldn't take too long, but I'm just going to click this little downgrade button. You will have to install it beforehand. I've already done that step, but we'll click that. And it says, hey, this service was originally installed from Start9 registry, but you are currently connected to the community registry. To install from community registry anyway, click continue. So again, this is a little bit of the funkiness in and around Bitcoin Core versus Bitcoin Knots, and it just views them as the same program effectively in the back end. So I'm going to hit continue here. And now it says view installed. And so you can see it's doing a little bit of work, swapping out. I need to configure it. Now in the config pop-up here, I'm not actually going to change anything. I'm just going to click save. And it says, as a result of this change, the following services will no longer work properly and may crash. It says Datum Gateway. I haven't configured that yet anyways, so I'm going to hit continue, and it will do a little bit more work here. Now, there are occasions where this can get a little stuck. And so what you need to do is give your Start9 a reboot, not just by unplugging or anything, but actually through the system itself. So let's see that really quick. So you can see my Bitcoin Knots. It's been a little while now, and it just still says stopping. This may take a while. So I'm just going to go over to System on the left, and I am going to go down to the bottom, and I'm going to choose a Restart, and I will hit Restart, and then we'll wait for this page to reload for us and see a green online in the bottom left. Okay, so I did get the Start9 to restart. Took a little bit. It does its thing, cycles, gives some beeps and everything. It turns on when you hear the little Mario chime. You'll know what it sounds like when you hear it. Anyways, the bottom left, I see the green connected sign. So let's head back to services and take a peek. So what you're going to need to do is make sure that you do click on Bitcoin Knots and start that service. So it'll take a second to boot up and then also sync to any blocks that may have happened while you were offline, and then all the rest of your services will begin to sync up as well. So we'll just wait for that to happen. And after a little bit of time, everything seems to be synced up. If we back out of the program, we can see everything else is also all fully synced there. Again, that'll take a few minutes to do, but we are in business. Bitcoin Knots has now replaced Bitcoin Core, which is what we needed. And now with Knots up and running, the only thing left to do is to connect our wallet, and that is much the same as it was with Umbrel here. Again, we have ElectRS or Electrum Rust server running, and as soon as Bitcoin Knots is installed and synced, that's automatically what ElectRS is going to be pointed to. So those will be linked immediately. There's no change of settings there. All I need to do is go to ElectRS and properties, and that's where I'm going to get my quick connect URL, all of the appropriate information there. And so I'm going to go ahead and I need the host name and the port again. So I'll just copy the host name. I can, of course, memorize the port, and we're going to go Sparrow settings, server, edit existing connection, and I'll just paste in the link that I copied, and we leave this as 50001, and we'll hit test connection. There we go, green check. We can hit close, and our wallet, the bottom right toggle switch is blue, and it's connecting to our node. Now, let's take a look. We'll go back out. We're still in ElectRS, so back one more time. And we're going to click on Bitcoin Knots. And where you make your settings changes in terms of your filter settings is all under config. And so again, if you do the drop down for mempool, you have various toggle switches for rejecting parasites and tokens and all of these different things. And again, hovering over the little question mark or clicking on it, it will give you a little bit more detail about what you are actually doing with all of these. So again, you can set it as you see fit, hit save, and all of your settings will persist. And your wallet, your Sparrow wallet, will be referencing your copy of Bitcoin Knots on your Start9. Now, I did want to mention something from Start9 here that, again, just in case you're tinkering with your setup and it's not working as you see fit, this was a tweet from them in October of 2024. So again, this may still be a little bit relevant, just so you know, but eventually this information will be obsolete, so you may be able to skip past it if you're up to date with a newer version, 0.3.6, which has not yet been released at the time of recording. But it says, hey, if you've already got Core installed, to install Knots, what you should do is go to the StartOS System tab, click Manage heading 5 times to enable developer mode. Now, if you'll notice in my video, I did not have to do that, and it still worked just fine. So if I go here, to my dashboard, and we'll go to System, and we'll click Manage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Dev tools unlocked. So you get a little notification there. At that point, if I go to the marketplace, and again, I've got to change registry here. So it's not in the regular Start9 registry. I'm going to hit change and choose community registry to look for Bitcoin Knots. Their tweet says you're going to reinstall, quote unquote, reinstall Knots in the community registry. And it says if you get a notification claiming the install failed, don't worry. It succeeded. You just need to open Knots, config, and then click save. And that should now be installed. So again, you saw in my example, I restarted. But either way, let's just search it really quick. Knots. We'll click on it. It does give me the option to update. I do have to update anyways. But you may see it as reinstall here in your search. Either way, that's how you would do that according to how they're doing it. And all of this information will be obsolete once version 0.3.6 comes out, so you won't need to worry about it, and it should all work just fine. As you've seen today, switching to Bitcoin Knots or running it from the start is surprisingly easy. And if you ever want to go back to Bitcoin Core, that's just as simple. You can reverse the process at any time. That's the beauty of running your own node. You are in control. But more importantly, the steps we covered today aren't just about knots. This is a general lesson in Bitcoin sovereignty. Whether you're exploring other implementations now or in the future, the same principles apply. Competition between implementations isn't a bug. It's a feature. It keeps the ecosystem honest, it provides pressure when changes don't have widespread consensus, and it gives you the power to choose the software with which you most align. If you found this valuable, I've linked 2 other videos you'll want to check out next. My Sparrow Wallet tutorial, which pairs perfectly with what we did today and allows you to link any hot, cold, or multi-sig setups directly to your node. And my walkthrough on home mining with Bitaxe, showing how I linked it to my Knots node using Datum on my Start9 and Umbrel. Both are in the description, and I highly recommend you head there if you haven't seen them already. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this content, please do hit that like button and subscribe. It really does help a ton. If you're having any troubles, if you are a little timid and you need some additional one-on-one help, reach out to my team over at bitcoinmentor.io. We have incredible educators that can help you through all of the stuff we've covered today and anything else in your Bitcoin technical journey to make sure that your setup is rock solid. With that, I'm out. Keep stacking sats, keep stacking skills. I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions. This was your daily session.